Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Buzz Hayes from Google Cloud, and I'm the chairman of the Advanced Imaging Society. Great to have you here. Today, we're coming to you live from the new Verizon 5G lab in Playa Vista. This is a great new facility that's being outfitted with the latest and greatest in technology, even as we speak. So don't be alarmed if you catch a little activity going on in the background behind Jim on the set. After pretty difficult 2020, this year is looking far more promising. Hollywood productions back to work, and movie theaters in New York opened their doors this weekend. With the vaccines now making their way into the population, the promise of getting back into what feels like a more normal life has everyone feeling just a little bit better. Here at the Advanced Imaging Society, we've been fortunate to have these video conversations available to connect with you and our global family. So we're back for the next 3 Thursdays live, talking with some of the smartest and coolest people we know about staying creative through all of this. Today, you're going to hear from Vicki Dobbs Beck. She serves as the executive in charge at ILM X Lab at Lucasfilm in San Francisco. And she and her team are thinking about the future every day. But first, let me thank our friends and partners for this series, Barbara Marshall and HP and their Z line of creative work products, Rick Champagne at NVIDIA, and we especially need to thank Michael Mansouri and his team from Radiant Images, Sony Cameras and Electronics, and Brave New Media, as well as this amazing new platform we're broadcasting from, Meetmo. Additionally, we'd like to thank our media and trade group partners, Computer Graphics World, the NAB Show, and of course you for meeting us here today. Vicki will stay on after her presentation to answer your questions with Barbara, so please put them into the chat window now or during the presentation, and she'll answer as many questions as we have time for. Today's show's runtime is about 60 minutes. But first up, one of the things we miss most about going to the movies are the movie trailers. So here's a new one from Disney. Coming May 28th from director Craig Gillespie and executive producer Glenn Close, starring Emma Stone and Emma Thompson. Here is Cruella.
From the very beginning, I realized I saw the world differently than everyone else. That didn't sit well with some people. But I wasn't for everyone. I guess they were always scared that I'd be a psycho. But a new day brings new opportunities. And I was ready to make a statement. How does the saying go? I am woman, hear me roar. I'm just getting started, darling. The thing is, I was born brilliant, born bad, and a little bit mad. I'm Cruella.
We're back this week with our poll question. So we'd like to hear your thinking. And please put your answers in the chat and we'll tally the results and talk about it a little bit later. So here's the first question for today. How soon do you think you'll be back in the movie theater again? Do you think that will be as early as July 1st of this year? Or maybe September 1st of this year? Maybe you're going to wait till a little before Thanksgiving in November of this year? Or do you think you're going to wait until January of 2022? So please put your response in the chat and we'll talk about that afterwards, okay? Now, our special guest to start our winter series is a veteran at Lucasfilm in San Francisco. She serves as the executive in charge of ILM X Lab, the award-winning division launched by Lucasfilm to pioneer in the field of immersive storytelling. In 2019, she was recognized by the Advanced Imaging Society with a Lumiere Award for Distinguished Leadership as a growth catalyst for the entertainment industry. Please put your questions for her in the chat window, and Barbara Marshall will join her to share your questions after the presentation. So without further ado, please welcome Vicki Dobbs Beck. Vicki?
AIS Winter Series. And I want to thank AIS, HP, and NVIDIA for inviting me. Today, I'd like to talk about the future, specifically the role of immersive storytelling in entertainment. And with that, I'll share my screen. Before getting into the heart of my talk, I wanted to give you a little background on myself, which I think is going to help provide some context for my passion and my beliefs for the future. I've been with Lucasfilm for almost 3 decades. As you know, Lucasfilm is now part of Disney. And my journey has been distinguished by an ongoing quest for innovation. This quest was really inspired by the legacy of George Lucas, who created one of the richest and deepest narrative universes ever brought to life. I started at ILM when we had just finished Willow, and we were in production on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. There were 6 computer graphic artists at ILM, and I happened to be on the same hall as they. I have always sought to be a catalyst for change, for possibility. And as the visual effects industry matured, I helped the company expand globally. We now have several thousand artists in 5 studios worldwide. But throughout all of this, my passion has been about innovation in storytelling. So today I want to touch on 3 major points. First, why I believe innovation in storytelling matters. Next, acknowledging that boundaries of all kinds are disappearing. And finally, my belief that cross-platform storytelling is the future. To illustrate these points, I'll be sharing some really rough experiments as well as more polished experiences created by ILMX Lab. So why does innovation in storytelling matter? Well, in the words of Ursula K. Le Guin, there have been great societies that did not use the wheel, but there have been no societies that did not tell stories. Stories are as much a part of us as life itself. And so when there are new ways to tell stories, we should be there, embracing those opportunities. Immersive devices and platforms are disrupting traditional forms of entertainment. They are new platforms for expression, and they allow us to convey emotion and establish deep and intimate connections to story and place. At ILMX Lab, we've developed a robust portfolio of projects over our 5-year history, and they essentially fall into 3 categories. First, location-based adventures. Here we can deliver scope and scale and evoke all the senses because we control 100% of the environment. Next, episodic experiences. These are generally intended for the home, where we can pursue extended engagement. And finally, and importantly, innovation experiments that allow us to try things out, innovate, and push the state of the art. We're really grateful to have been acknowledged by the industry for our work, most recently by the VR Awards in 2020 for Avengers Damage Control, which won Out of Home Entertainment Experience of the Year. But other awards I'm especially proud of are the Special Oscar in 2017 in recognition of a visionary and powerful experience in storytelling for Carne y Arena. This is a project that we had the privilege of collaborating on with Alejandro Inarritu. This was his vision, and he truly understood how to design for the unique power of VR. I was also really gratified by the PGA Innovation Award, the first of its kind, and we were up against some very stiff competition. But now let's start by acknowledging that our relationship to reality is fundamentally changing. Imagine what hide and seek might be like in a mixed reality future. The hall closet will be BB-8's favorite place to hide. Over time, this little girl will come to expect this because she knows BB-8 as a friend, as a true character companion. And when she grows up, this girl, who is now a woman, will carry that memory of how BB-8 always hid in the closet. This will remain her reality. It is a real memory. It's personal and it's potentially lasting. In time, this can be a very social experience. Imagine a world in which many of us have droid companions. They engage with us in our daily lives. And not only can your droid recognize your friends, but their droid companions as well. And we can skin our world, populating a park with dinosaurs, ideally seamlessly blending the real and digital elements. This was a quick thought piece we put together almost 5 years ago. That said, this all becomes particularly exciting when AR glasses are a reality. Having your hands free will profoundly change the nature of the experience. We believe we are transitioning from storytelling, one-way communication, to this idea of story living, where you're in a world making meaningful choices that drive the connected narrative forward. This is really a new brush, a new canvas, and these technologies will allow us to deliver on the promise of story living. The first key element of that story living vision is the notion of discovery. It's important to develop worlds that are rich in detail, that can transport people beyond the boundaries of our reality. VR has allowed us to invite people to step inside our stories in ways never before possible. And I think one of the best examples of this was an experience that we at ILMX Lab created in collaboration with The Void several years ago, called Star Wars Secrets of the Empire. It was a location-based experience, one that you do with your family and friends. And it did indeed blend the physical with your virtual world. So where you see a wall in the virtual world, there's actually a physical wall. And that one-to-one mapping caused your brain to buy into the reality. And we evoked all the senses, those 4D effects, what you see, hear, feel, smell, and maybe one day what you taste. I want to share some testimonials from guests who visited Secrets of the Empire at Downtown Disney and listen to how they felt as if they were in the world of Star Wars.
I've been wanting to step into a Star Wars movie for as long as I could remember. And I think getting to see that and touch that and feel that really put me in that film unlike anything else ever has. And it was a dream come true, really.
If you ever really want to be in Star Wars, The Void is where you're going to go to do that.
We got to be characters in the movie. You can't get that anywhere else.
You can't get it anywhere else. From the minute you walk in and you have the briefing from Captain Cassian, it's like you're in Rogue One.
I mean, you were walking right there where Anakin became Darth Vader, and it was incredible. It was transformative.
The moment when we picked up our blasters, and then the guy that we were with accidentally fired his, and so then all the alarms went off, and we're like, oh my God!
The thing Void does that's really cool is you reach out and you can actually touch the walls around you.
Okay, but if you want to feel like you're actually in a Star Wars movie, you need to come do this.
If you've never experienced it, it's undescribable. Yeah. So it's like, how do I describe this to you? You just have to go, you just got to do it.
The next critical element of story living is connection, establishing intimate and meaningful relationships with characters. In our portfolio of work, I think this was best represented in our 3-part VR story series designed for the home, Vadar Immortal. When we started that project, we envisioned that you, the user, were actually an observer, essentially a ghost. And our big aha moment was realizing that given the power of VR, we needed to make you the focus. You had to be the central character. You had to matter. And although Darth Vader was extremely compelling and powerful, this had to be your story. Your unfolding relationship with Darth Vader became the journey. We did an initial test where Vader confronts you in the cell. And for those of you that have done this, this scene largely still exists in the final product. We wanted to prove to ourselves that you could, in fact, establish a meaningful connection in VR. So the door opens, Vader appears. He walks toward you, heavy footfalls, deep breathing, and he looks you directly in the eyes and addresses you. Honestly, it was so powerful, most people didn't even hear or process Vader's dialogue. It reinforced for us the power of connection, and it also taught us something about pacing. So now I'd like to share the trailer from episode 3, which was my personal favorite. And this is really the culmination of this series. It taps into all of the places that you have been and the connections you've made, whether dark or light. It brings you to the epic finale of your adventure.
Did you think you could become my apprentice? You were a means to an end. But now you have outlived your usefulness.
Only you can face Vader.
We need an army for that.
You have an army.
What the? Time for one final lesson.
So connection is also one of augmented reality's great strengths. For a number of years, we had a strategic collaboration with Magic Leap, and with them, we released an experiment called Project Porg.
The story of Project Porg is that Chewbacca has left a device along with a Porg, and C-3PO has sent a message that explains how you can take care of it.
Oh my god. Project Porg is an aspirational experiment, and it's important because we can spark people's imagination about what's going to be possible in the world of mixed reality.
Chewbacca suggests you try offering the Porg a treat.
Mixed reality places you at the center, and an experience can start in the home, continue throughout the journey, and culminate in this transformative destination.
The experience was designed such that your relationship matured over a series of short episodes or engagements. And as we were getting ready to launch the experience, I did all of the episodes in succession. So I was in the glasses playing with the Porgs for a little over an hour in my world. What I was not prepared for was when I took off the glasses and the Porgs disappeared, I felt this great sense of loss. For those of you who have done VR, you understand that abrupt transition from the virtual world to the real world. But I was actually not prepared for that same kind of impact with AR. Even in that relatively short time, these Porgs had become my friends, much like pets. That's the power of connection. And then, of course, in a rich world with compelling characters, countless stories can unfold. These stories can be curated, divergent or branching, even emergent, stories that evolve based on the contributions of many who traverse and engage with the world. Our most recent release was Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. Here we saw an opportunity to extend the world of the theme parks, inviting our guests to go beyond the boundaries of Black Spire Outpost on the planet Batuu at Disneyland and Disney World. We were not trying to replicate what had been so beautifully done in the parks physically, but rather to create experiences that would be impossible in the real world for reasons of cost, laws of physics, or both. We wanted to allow people to explore and discover, to establish connections with characters, and we combined mission-based adventures with more narrative-heavy legends. Cecil Slack, as a storyteller from inside his cantina, gave us exciting new opportunities that we can build on. So here's the trailer from Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. Hopefully it gives you a sense of the breadth of engagement within the experience.
Get to the escape pod!
The First Order is paying a small fortune for a piece of your cargo. And lucky you, we're here to claim it.
Stay alive and meet me in Cecil Slack's cantina.
Rough one, eh? Welcome in! If you're thirsty, you're in the right place. Oh, you smell like Sabi's junk pile, kid. You all right? Mubo was worried about you. I know it ain't as bustling as some of the other establishments around here, but hey, this place is up and coming. You're getting in on the ground floor. Oh, and if you're headed out to the wilds, can you pick me up a few of my trademark ingredients? Most of them probably won't kill you. There's all sorts of friendly little creatures out there. Oh, the flying ones are particularly adorable. I heard the Droid Depot just got some new gear in stock. Why don't you say hi to Mubo for me while you're there? Hi is code for come pay your debt. He'll probably send you out some wild Minot chase for droid parts. The thing I love about Black Spire Outpost, you never know who you're gonna cross paths with.
I am the top resistance spy master.
No.
How dare you?
Hey, your pirate friend stopped by while you were out. Don't worry, I told them where they could find you. You can thank me later. The locals can be a little rough on tourists, but it's nothing you can't handle. While you're here, let me tell you the story of a mysterious Jedi temple right here on Batu.
Padawan Addison Z received your distress call. The Council did.
A Jedi never gives up.
A key driver of the future of entertainment is that boundaries are disappearing. We're watching movies together in VR, and we're attending film festivals virtually. This is a lobby space at the Venice Film Festival. People are accepting awards from wherever they are in the world. We're also attending live concerts virtually. This is Jean-Michel Jarre's New Year's Eve concert in Notre Dame. On December 31st of this past year alone, over 75 million people watched the live stream. Some people also attended in VR. Not only did the creators allow us to go into the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, they further augmented the cathedral, blending the physical and virtual worlds. As we discussed before, with Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, we're breaking down the boundaries between the physical park and what lies beyond Black Spire Outpost. This is an image of Cecil Slack's cantina in the virtual world, and we're looking out at Disneyland's Black Spire Outpost. At ILMX Lab, we're interested in how augmented reality can further cause boundaries to disappear. As another part of our strategic collaboration with Magic Leap, we created an augmented reality location-based experience in a large ballroom. Essentially, it was a recreation of the scene from Hoth in Empire Strikes Back. You can see the physical props in the midground. Now watch this piece and look at the way we can open up the physical world.
We don't have time for repairs, R5. Give me full power. I'm gonna need it out there. Echo Station 57, this is Rogan. We're on our way. Rosie. We've taken damage in hangar. They'll be a slice away. R5, find a way to jumpstart the power converters. Override the safety. We've got company. R5, find a way to give me full charge. Thanks, Room 9. E2, R5. Echo Station 5-7, this is Rosie. All systems are go. We are on our way.
So many people believe that augmented reality may be the biggest disruptor of entertainment in our generation, and I'm one of them. Finally, not only are boundaries disappearing, but screens are everywhere. Whether they be VR or AR glasses or lenses, giant screens or virtual screens, this is our future. And looking ahead, one day we may see an augmented world through contact lenses. But where there are screens and lenses, there are opportunities for stories. Finally, I believe that compelling cross-platform storytelling is the future. We talked about connecting the stories of the theme park Galaxy's Edge with a VR experience that extends the boundaries of the physical world. Similarly, we took a holistic approach with Vadar Immortal. We actually set up the Vadar Immortal VR story series with Star Wars Secrets of the Empire, the location-based experience. That experience took place on an outpost on Mustafar, and you could see Vader's castle in the distance. With Vadar Immortal, you then meet Vader on his home turf and wield a lightsaber. From a narrative perspective, you discover his bigger plan. And now we've introduced an arcade-style experience built from the lightsaber dojo. I borrowed these next graphics from a colleague who felt that 8-bit graphics are about as good a way as any to predict the future. But that said, we believe experiences will extend across platforms, leveraging each platform's unique strengths. Your character companion can join you on your journey and can recognize not only your friends, but their virtual companions as well. We'll be able to expand the worlds of theme parks in ways that would not otherwise be possible. Map cities and buildings will allow us to take mixed reality to the streets, and self-driving cars or even flying cars will become entertainment hubs. There'll be an opportunity for AR social events, perhaps the culmination of an ongoing adventure. What previously you had experienced alone, perhaps the finale is experienced together. So back to this idea of story living and connected stories that cross platforms. We think of it like a mosaic. Each tile is a compelling experience on its own, designed to take advantage of the medium or device's unique strengths. Some tiles are more passive in nature, lean back experiences. Others invite us to jump in. Some are tied to locations. Others are designed to be experienced at home. Still others we may participate while in driverless cars. Some are big, some are small, but all have been designed to the strengths of the respective platforms. And when we pull back and we view all of the individual tiles together, we see a much bigger and more intricate design. If approached holistically, the whole can truly be greater than the sum of the parts. To accomplish all of this, technology must continue to evolve. We need compelling AR glasses with wide field of view, markerless skeletal tracking, highly accurate world mapping, supported by a robust transmission network, and AI. But the promise of the future is there. In closing, I encourage all of you to dare to be courageous in thinking about what's possible in the service of good with these emerging technologies. Dream big and participate in the renaissance of creative possibility. And with that, I leave you with the words of Master Yoda. Do or do not, there is no try. And now I'd like to invite my friend and colleague, Barbara Marshall from HP for a bit of a Q&A.
Thanks, Vicki. Lovely to see you, albeit virtually. And thanks for painting such a fascinating and I think enthusiastic vision of the future. Very exciting to hear that. So yes, as you say, we're going to do some Q&A, and I've got some questions from the audience. But first, I'd love to ask you one of my questions, which is, what is the relationship between technology and the future that you're painting? Does one lead the other?
It's a really good question. And when we started ILMX Lab, we actually set forth what I call foundational beliefs. And one of those beliefs started out as creativity leads and technology enables. But what we realized over time is that technology can also inspire. And in fact, for almost every one of the experiences that we've created, the technology really did inspire ideas about how to create compelling, immersive stories. So I think it can work both ways, but for us, actually, the technology has been the inspiration. And then we are looking for ways to take advantage of those technologies' unique strengths to tell new kinds of stories.
Fascinating. And that kind of leads actually nicely onto a question that we've got from Carrie Berkner-Gruben in the audience. And she was asking, what would you say is the biggest pain point in the existing virtual pipeline that would benefit from standardization?
Well, I think, one of the things is we're still learning, right? And we're still trying to optimize. For us, one of the keys is creating the highest visual fidelity. We're really striving for something that is cinematic as possible. And so I'm not sure about the standardization as much as, just continuing to push the boundaries of the technologies so that we can achieve that high cinematic quality. And that has everything to do with optimization in the real-time pipeline.
Yeah, as you say, visual fidelity is kind of key throughout entertainment. So how about this next one from Wes Donahue? Have studios started to explore AR applications that could be accessed by theatergoers as they sit in seats awaiting the beginning of the film?
I think people are starting to think about that. Certainly, we've done some experiments with that, and you've probably read about a number of filmmakers who have also explored what's possible. I think the technology has a ways to go before we can deliver that in a truly compelling way. But I'm really excited about a future where there is, in essence, potentially an AR overlay to a linear experience. And who knows, that linear experience may also be being viewed on a virtual screen. So, you get a virtual screen with a linear experience, and then the AR elements are essentially flooding your living room or theater.
So I loved your comment earlier about missing, when you came out of the experience, you missed the little creatures, so that you'd become like emotionally attached to that character. Do you see, so this is a question from Jonathan Moran, given the need for interaction with characters in XR, do you see non-human characters growing in popularity, given the rights of individuals represented digitally? And he uses as an example Carrie Fisher and others being shown forever brings about some off scenarios and legal rights. So I think there's two aspects to it. There's one, the emotional connection that you were talking about, and then secondly, is there a practicality that perhaps will drive non-human characters?
I think that, well, certainly I would say, for us, non-human characters are quite integral to the stories that we're telling. Droids, as an example, are a very key part of the Star Wars universe. And that also, I think it's a good place to start. I'm sure there are legal issues and rights issues and so forth that we will have to figure out how to overcome when that becomes the kind of experience that we want to design, and when I say we, I mean we, the collective we, in terms of content creators. But non-human characters, it's really pretty amazing to imagine bringing them to life and what compelling AI can deliver. So I think that's another one of the key technologies. So not just really the great glasses and the wide field of view, so it seamlessly blends the real and the digital worlds, but also really compelling AI so that we have believable interactions, that it feels like there's an authenticity to the interaction, regardless of whether it is a non-human character or a human character.
That's an interesting point. I guess I'd always thought about the AI more from the creator's point of view, making it easier or like removing repetitive tasks. But that's an interesting point that you make from a reality, from the consumer's experience, that you see a way of it making it more authentic.
Yeah, I think it goes both ways, right? AI, I think, is going to be critical to creating believable characters. But also AI is going to be, and machine learning is going to be really, really important to creating systems that will populate these worlds and allow them to have persistence. Got it.
Okay, let's have a look and see what else the audience is asking. We're getting lots of questions, which is great. I'm trying to group them into lots of logical subjects. So let's talk about the theme park side of things for a little bit. So Joanna Atalano from the third floor is asking, how do you see the growth of immersive applications and experiences with the theme park industry? And I guess currently that's a slightly different conversation than perhaps if we'd had that 2 years ago.
You're absolutely right about that, which is the funny thing is when we obviously created or began the development of Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, we had no idea COVID was coming. And we had envisioned a much more sort of seamless opportunity for people to go into the physical theme park, experience Black Spire Outpost, and then outside of the park, go into VR and go beyond the boundaries. I think that, as I mentioned, I think the key for theme parks and other, sort of location-based experiences are probably with augmented reality, when we have robust glasses, when those glasses are sort of ubiquitous, and we can do things with those glasses that simply can't be done physically. Like if it can be done physically, I think is the case with Disneyland, Disney World, all the Disney parks. It's so beautifully rendered physically that feels most authentic. So you wouldn't want to try to take away from that, but rather maybe add to it in ways that you couldn't do physically. So spaceships in the sky, or tiny creatures running around within the park, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so that kind of raises, I think, a question that Kyle Reedy has brought up, and that relates to one of my questions. So first of all, Kyle is asking, what do you think has been the boundary to wide-scale adoption of VR hardware in people's homes? And you touched on the headset question just now. And then he asked, do you think devices like the Quest, or I would throw in the HP Reverb G2, will they continue to make VR more accessible in the coming years?
In my opinion, anything that is tetherless, that sort of takes this into the domain where it's all in one, I think it opened up the audience in a very significant way. And, interestingly, early in the VR adoption cycle, the early adopters were definitely the gamers, and a lot of them had the computer setups required to run the high-end headsets, and of course those delivered great experiences. But when we tested out the Quest for the first time, and it was very specifically in relation to the lightsaber, the ability to not get twisted up in a cable, and to be able to move in 360 and design in 360, it was really a game changer. So I think that all of these, all-in-one headsets are going to continue to allow a broader audience to engage. And another thing I would say is that at ILMX Lab, our intention really was around creating immersive storytelling experiences as opposed to games. And I am really interested in, in creating experiences that a broader audience will wish to engage with. So even people who, enjoy film and episodic television, et cetera, but don't play video games. We want to be able to create experiences that they too will like. And that's why I think, when I talked about the mosaic, there's a whole spectrum of opportunities there. And, even some more passive versus what I was calling jump-in experiences. I think if we sort of consider a range of ways for people to enter a story world, then we will broaden the audience, both with the technology as well as the content itself.
Yeah, I liked your comments about story living as opposed to storytelling. But I still have, in my mind, this question, we've talked about this before. We've been talking about immersive storytelling and experiences for many years, and yet traditional feature films, episodic dramas, even costume dramas are ever popular. So what do you say to someone who is skeptical about how universal immersive forms of entertainment will become? And what do you think the tipping point will be?
It's a really good question. It's an incredibly relevant question right now. And obviously, streaming has given linear entertainment an entirely, sort of new lease on life, if you will. Not that it was ever waning, but I really think that in the future, that especially if you look at the next generation almost expects a blend of the physical and virtual worlds. And I think that the coming generations will almost demand thinking beyond beyond traditional entertainment, and how can you take advantage of the technologies and still tell really great stories. So that's why, one of those earlier questions about, combining augmented reality with, say, a theatrical experience or a streaming experience is a very interesting one, because I think at some point in the future, that's going to be extremely relevant. And then I continue to believe that that there are stories that can be best told in these with these technologies. So as an example, Alejandro Inarritu's Carne y Reina, he always intended that for VR, he truly understood the power of VR, the fact that you could, it's like the power of presence, or the power of being there, and the power of connection. He made that real in a way that I just don't believe could have been done in a short film. And so I think that we as as an audience that are consuming entertainment are going to look for the broad range. So this is why, we continue to experiment, innovate. We do a lot of these little, like the dinosaur and the, the little droids with the people meeting. We do these sort of little mini vision pieces to sort of provoke thinking about what is yet to come.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you said as well about the expectations of the younger generation, and I know a lot of us have to be very conscious of personal bias. So one of the questions that's come up from Scott is related to that younger generation and students, and he's asking, like, what's the most important skill for our students to have if, for example, ILM was on their career goal?
It was interesting because I did a talk yesterday to a class at Chapman University, and of course they were asking something similar, and I said, this is really like other art forms, this is a very collaborative art form, and there's lots of ways to contribute to the overarching process. So in our team, for example, we actually have people who have come from more traditional film and visual effects. And what they bring to it is this quality bar, this for cinematic quality imagery, etc., and obviously an understanding of more traditional storytelling. And then we have a lot of people who have come from the games industry or the interactive industry, and what they really understand is how do you make this compelling to a user? So the best scenario is when you have people coming from both those angles and coming together and bringing out the best in each other, right? Because the process of creation in immersive storytelling is much more iterative than you can't really easily just go away and write a script and come back, because it doesn't really work that way, because that's not what the experience is. So I think you can come at it from many different angles. I mean, even things like architecture is important in when you're creating three-dimensional spaces. And but what I would say is, for people that are students right now, so people that are going to engage with this art form in the near to midterm, is you have to be very comfortable with change and evolution. And not everyone is, and so because things are constantly evolving, constantly changing, we're in an experimentation, part of the process. So some things work and some things don't work, and you have to be okay with that. So I think it's actually, in some ways, it's a mindset as much as it is an expertise.
Yeah, a mindset, and also, by the sounds of it, a willingness to fail and to learn from those mistakes. And I guess a lot depends on the environment around you as to whether you're comfortable. So it sounds like sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, the one other thing I would say is that having a real genuine understanding of real-time technologies and how to design and develop for that is actually really, really critical. So people from the games industry, that's where they come from. So they understand that people that are coming from the film side of the business, it is a bit of a learning curve to kind of appreciate what has to be done in order to allow an experience to run at 90 frames a second, for example, in VR. As opposed to traditional 24 and not being able to render overnight and all of those sorts of things. You do have to kind of, that's why I say earlier, learning from one another. There are tips and tricks on both sides of that equation, coming from the game side, coming from the film side. And when you bring those together and learn from one another, that's, I think, how you create the best and most interesting experiences.
And so you've touched on collaboration. You've also just mentioned the importance of the real-time engines. And of course, that's now the same across games, TV, film, and immersive entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And real-time, everything. Real-time was the holy grail, and we're kind of there now. So I know we've only got time for one more question. This has just flown by, and love chatting with you. So my final question is really with an eye on the future. If you were a betting lady, what would your money be on, whether that's a technology or a company or?
I knew you were going to ask me that question. And the funny thing is, it depends on which part of my brain I'm using, right? But I'm going to use the passion side of, of my personality. And I believe that really compelling IP that is about rich worlds, compelling characters, and sort of unlimited stories, that is going to be the foundation for these connected experiences of the future. And And I think it's an incredibly exciting time. I mean, obviously the technologies are critical in order to deliver that. But I love being at the place where we can think about the big picture and the cross-platform nature of content creation.
Brilliant. Thank you, Vicki, so much for giving us such an inspiring and enthusiastic view of the future. Lots of exciting opportunities ahead, I think, for all of us. So sadly, we've come to an end. I need to hand over to our chairman, Buzz. Thank you, Vicki.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thank you, Vicki, for giving us an inspiring glimpse into the future of immersive storytelling. We really appreciate it. And of course, thank you to Barbara for your sponsorship and for moderating the Q&A on this event. We really appreciate it. So now is the time to find the results of our survey. The question again is, when are you going to be ready to get back to a movie theater again? And it's interesting. There's a bit of a grouping of responses here, but 18% of you, the lowest percentage, said July 1st. So clearly people are not quite ready to get out there yet. It was evenly split across September and November. 22% of our respondents for both September and November. But what's interesting is that the majority of the people, a little over a third of the folks at 37%, have opted to wait until January of 2022. So we'll see how things turn out, and maybe we'll refresh our poll in the coming weeks. But anyway, thank you for joining in the poll. Really appreciate it. And now let's get back to Jim Chabin to wrap things up with our next guest. Please take it away, Jim.
Thank you, Buzz. The correct answer, I think, is probably when we all get vaccinated, right? That's when we're all going to feel safe to get back in, but there are great movies coming out. Thank you, Buzz. Thank you, Vicki. Of course, thank you, Barbara. In a moment, we'll go behind the scenes here to show you the trailblazing 5G technology created in this lab for this show. But our next trailer from Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures, directed by Adam Weingard, Godzilla vs. Kong. It's great to be able to say this. It will be released in theaters and on HBO Max March 31st. Here is Godzilla vs. Kong.
This is our only chance. We have to take it. We need Kong. The world needs him to stop what's coming. And this child, she's the only one he'll communicate with.
I knew that they had a bond. She had nowhere to go, so I made a promise to protect her. And I think that in some way, Kong did the same. Godzilla.
These are dangerous times. Godzilla's out there and he's hurting people and we don't know why.
There's something provoking him that we're not seeing here.
I'm of the same opinion.
The myths are real. There was a war. And they're the last ones standing.
I keep reaching for greatness because I'm built from it.
Who bows to who?
Nobody gonna stop for me. Here we go.
Kong bows to no one.
And now we've got a real treat. We want to take you behind the scenes and show you how we're working here on remote control. We are coming to you from the new Verizon 5G lab here. It's not even open to the public or to the industry. We're one of the first groups to be in here. We'll be telecasting our show here for the next several Thursdays. This studio is equipped with 5G, and if you're in the building and have a 5G phone, you won't believe how fast your phone becomes. We've been able to rebuild our camera rigs with our partners from Meetmo, Radiant Images, and Sony. And so Michael Mansouri is going to join us and show us what a 5G camera rig looks like when it's powered by a 5G cell phone. No wires, no cables, just a cell phone delivering a high-quality picture. So, Michael, join us here.
Hey, Jim, thank you very much. And again, thank you very much for inviting me to collaborate with you again. I remember this started at the early part of the pandemic. You called us and you were very interested in virtualizing the AIS virtual conferences. So we had to rethink how we'll collaborate, how we're able to bring participants from around the world right into a live stream. And so I partnered up with Meetmo. It's an incredible platform, ultra low latency, high quality, and the scope changed. We had to make it even easier to deploy, make it completely wireless, very simple. So I'm really happy to say that we teamed up with Verizon. We're here watching them build the entire network, the connectivity, and our friends at Sony, who are creating these incredible technology that lets us create IoT bridges that connects us from set to post-production to set, client agencies, all wirelessly connected through mobile devices.
So we've had quite a few comments this morning, and somebody chimed in our chat window to say it's so refreshing after poor quality Zoom calls to see you guys with a high quality picture and lighting. Just so that our folks know at home, we are the Advanced Imaging Society. And so we ship a camera rig to all our speakers. So Barbara out in Fort Collins, Colorado, if we've got someone joining us from Boston or Chicago or San Francisco, they get a FedEx case a couple days before the show, and they set up so that you all watching from home see a really high quality picture. That involved a laptop, cables, lighting, and a lot of tech. With our pals at Sony, that's a 5G phone, we are able now to put that in a shipping case, send it, and Michael, they can take it out of the box and plug it in. No cables, no nothing. So tell us what we're looking at right there that you've got.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to share this with you. Number one, what are we doing here? That's the most important thing. So our entire live stream right now is being powered by Verizon's ultra wideband, as well as Sony's Xperia phone. So this phone is our actual entire live capture. We're getting multiple high quality 1080 streams coming in. We're recapturing and then streaming it so that the viewers can view it all in real time. That's being the entire production, everything is being powered by a cell phone and not some 480 image, or we're doing high quality. On the other hand, how do participants come in? And that's really simple. Turn on the phone and you launch our Meetmo app. And as soon as you do that, I'm going to join this conference. So let's go. Let's rock and roll. Now I'm going to come inside this room.
And Michael, that's a professional Sony camera?
Yeah, so this is sorry. Okay. So this is a Sony A7S Mark III, brand new camera that just was released from Sony. We have the Xperia phone here that has an HDMI input. The HDMI goes in. Our app, Meetmo, allows us to have real-time collaboration, all wireless. And what does it solve? What it solves is the most needed, which is remote video village, as well as close village. So if you have video village on a near set, that gets lit up just by a mobile phone. And if you have remote collaboration, like we do it right now, everyone is collaborating with us using these phones. Yeah.
So we're spread out over a very large studio complex, and we're all connected with 5G phones, all the pictures, all the sound, everything locked up. Is that 10-bit? Is that 4K? What kind of capability can we get out of a rig using just a 5G phone?
Yeah, so this goes back to your mission when you called me. You said that the most important thing was you wanted to, this wasn't about window dressing. This is not about us just saying 5G, 5G, 5G. You wanted us to go out there and really understand how we could push this technology. And I've locked myself in Verizon's lab here with our partners at Verizon and Sony just to figure out how we can push the boundaries. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you guys a quick sneak peek of the 25th when we do our major live demo, which will be 4K from a Sony Venice professional motion picture camera, utilizing these Xperias as the connection bridge and sending the entire video file at 4K, 30 frames, 10-bit, 422, directly into virtual production, post-production for real-time collaboration.
So for the people watching now that are into production, what's this going to mean when they want to, if they use it? What's the impact? Is it budget? Is it speed? Is it convenience? What is it?
It's all of that. So the only limitations I've had with collaborating with people is two, and it's always been time and distance. So now I can collaborate with whoever I want. If I have a cinematographer or director, we can collaborate real time. And now I can bring post-production on our set, and I can take our stream and take it right into post-production for real-time review and so on. So I think, Jim, we're scratching the surface. We don't know enough, but we're paving the way forward so others can follow and lead with us shoulder by shoulder.
We all pass local TV news vans to and from work or when we were out on the streets driving around. And the notion that all of those use microwave to get a signal up to a relay station back to a television newsroom, and the thought that that could be replaced someday with a camera on a small rig with a 5G phone is mind-boggling. And the fact that it's here now and that we're going to do a deep dive on it on our March 25th show is very, very exciting. So we'll see you on the 25th and we'll go from there. But thank you very much, Michael. And thanks for all that you guys do to make us look good.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And before I go, I just want to thank our collaborators. We have Brave New Media, Brave New, as well as all the team members at Meatmo. We could not do this without our partnerships with Sony. Sony has been driving us to push this forward as much as possible.
Fantastic.
And Jim, thank you for your leadership. Thank you very much.
We'll see you on the 25th.
Yeah.
As we wrap it up for this week's show, thanks go to our team, Barbara Marshall and HP and their Z line of creative work products, Rick Champagne at NVIDIA, Michael Mansouri and his team from Meatmo and Radiant Images, and Verizon 5G Labs for their great facilities that you'll be seeing and hearing more about from us, and Sony for the equipment to help make all of this possible. Also, thanks to Damian Petru and his Brave New Media team and our friends at PGA, VES, ASC, and the NAB show, and of course to you for joining us. These presentations will now be available on the Advanced Imaging Society's YouTube channel. And join us next week, March 18th at 11 a.m. for a very cool conversation and demo with a 3-time Academy Award winner, Rob Legato. He'll take us through how he works with directors to achieve virtual VFX magic. We'll also hear from John Walkenhurst from Evercast and Clifton Robin of HPZ Central. See you then. Stay safe. This is AIS.